Hello everybody. Today we're going to take on a little bit more of a difficult task. Got a 2007 Cadillac CTS and we are about to change some plugs on it. All in all, it seems pretty simple, but see, when I get this cover off right here, things aren't always quite what they seem. If you notice, here's our spark plugs right under the intake manifold. Sometimes you wonder exactly what engineers were thinking. Well, they made 4 of these easy to get to. 3 of them, sorry. The other 3, yeah, you gotta pull the intake to get to it. So that's our task ahead of us today. So let's get started. Naturally, the first thing here, we're going to have to pull off the intake boot. Make sure you always watch out for things like that. I think for ease of access, we're going to go ahead and pull the whole air filter assembly out. Bolts will be 10mm bolts. Make sure you put bolts where you can remember where they go. I've been doing this long enough. I'm pretty good about remembering exactly where everything goes. Stowaway. Alright, now that is good and out of our way, I'm going to go ahead and pop this PCV valve off, set it down right next to it. Alright. Release that. There's a little tab right here. Push in, push that tab out, and that will release that off of there. Nice yank there. Moves that from the bracket. Now we also gonna have to undo our plugs for our throttle body system. And we'll just set that down right out of the way right there. That one's already broke. Again, these should just pop out just like so. Set them down underneath. Vacuum hose. Put that out, set that down underneath. Put that to the side. Alright, now let's go ahead and check out these couple bolts right here that are holding brackets on. Good practice is if you can set it back in there, do so, and then you know something's supposed to go there again. I don't think a deep's gonna fit right there. It won't. And this one is just holding on the map sensor. Sometimes these clips are pretty tight. You have to get in there at the perineedle nose. Go ahead, just make sure whatever you do, you don't grab it by the wire, you grab it by the body. Just like so. All right. All right, so all of our connections should be out. Well, no, looks like I'm seeing another one. Nope, that didn't go to there. Now again, this is my first time doing this job in this vehicle. So, as with any time you do something for the first time, you want to make sure you pace yourself. You want to make sure you get everything you need. No point in trying to rush things and getting ahead of yourself and causing yourself more work than needs to be done. But at this point it appears that I have everything off that needs to be off. So let's see, maybe 13. Yeah, I think that's 13. All right. Now that we got those off, we're ready to actually unbolt our intake manifold. So, I'm gonna need a shallow 13. I'm gonna take a little bit of a gamble on that I'll be able to break this with this little ratchet, just because I don't have much space to work with here. All right, that worked out. Now that's definitely a very tight fit on that bolt. Once you get it as loose as you can, you have to remember to take that ratchet off of there, otherwise it will get stuck right there. Hopefully we can turn it the rest of the way with our fingers. It's looking promising. Again, that's another one of those things that don't quite understand what the engineers was thinking when they did that. But now we have, well, I thought we had them all removed. Up. We're gonna have to take, it'd probably be better to take this one right here off. Is an 18 millimeter. It's our first change in size yet so far. Well, other than the 13s. Well, that's a long bolt. It's a little ridiculous if you ask me. Okay, now we're gonna want to slowly lift this up off of here just to make sure we don't have anything else in the way. Looks like we got a couple of bolts that are still holding us up a little bit. So let's go ahead and pull all these bolts out. Didn't realize they were quite that long. All right, now, as you see here, these bolts are very long. This bolt's short. Keep a mental note of that, write it down on paper, whatever you have to do to remember that the short bolt goes here. A little bit of luck, all these other ones will be the same length. They should be. Maybe that back one might be a different length, but we'll see that here in a minute. There we go. I do believe that's going to be a shorter one as well. All right. Luckily, correct, it is a shorter one as well. And it is the same size as the other one. So, we now have our intake manifold off. That was pretty harmless. Set that down right here very easily. Remember, that's cast aluminum. Cast aluminum breaks pretty easily. So let's go ahead, most likely a 10 millimeter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove all 6 of the bolts that hold the coils in. All right. And once we have those removed, looks like, yeah. All right. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, anytime you pull anything like your intake off, anything like that, you always want to put some rags, some paper towels, something. I just got some shop rags that I use. Got them set in there just that way no dust, debris, dirt, anything else like that can fall into there. So we will be cleaning up the surface here shortly in order to put our new gaskets on and make sure our gaskets have a good seal. But for the meantime, let's go ahead and continue on with where we was and start pulling out these coils. Now these coils don't matter which order they go in. All that matters is that they get hooked up in the same. These clips are kind of a pain in the butt right here, but they work. Like, slide that all the way out, and then that just literally unplugs. Once that unplugs, our bolt's out, wiggle a little bit, and then just pull straight up. These are our coils. We're just gonna set again, as stated, 3 of the 6 coils are accessible with the intake manifold still in place. These 2 and that 1. Again, the order and where these coils are placed isn't important. All that matters is that they're plugged into the right wire. Okay. Now that we have all of our plugs out, or our coils out, I should say. Now that we have all of our coils out, we're going to take some air. A little blast of air into each plug socket. That way, any dirt or debris that may be in there gets blasted out and we don't drop anything into the top of our pistons. Naturally, some of these lines can be brittle at times, so definitely be a little cautious of how much pressure you put on one, where you bend one. It's kind of best, if at all possible, just to let them kind of sit in your way as long as you can do so. So these plugs are a little worn. They're probably factory plugs. The car's got 150,000 miles on it. see, we got a little bit of oil on this plug, which indicates to me that we're going to need to put a new valve cover gasket on here before too long. The valve cover gasket, there's rings that go down here right around where the spark plug walls are, and over time they wear out and leak a little bit. It's just a natural thing that happens. Not the end of the world. It's definitely something that's going to need to be changed at some point, though. Eventually it'll start filling up the socket with oil, and I'll start getting a misfire because the plug's sitting in oil and shorting out. This one has a little bit of oil on it as well. Okay, now it's time to reinstall. The plugs that I bought are pre-gap plugs. They're specifically designed for this vehicle, so we don't need to check our spark plug gap. If you don't get pre-gap plugs, you always want to double check your spark plug gap before reinstalling. Alright, now that we got all the plugs back installed, it's time for us to reinstall our coils. Quite simply push in, put your plug on there and squeeze, and it's going to push in a little bit whenever you squeeze that in there. But bam, that one's done now. Repeat that with all 6. Make sure when you're doing this, you fully lock the plug in. You don't want something as simple as a loose plug to cause you problems down the road. Alright, now that those are installed, I'm going to turn my impact down to a low setting. We don't need these very tight, they're just supposed to hold it in place. Now that we have that in place, I'm going to take a little piece of sandpaper, and all I'm wanting to do is just get any imperfections that may be on the surface where this gasket meets and smooth it out. That way there's no bad contacts, we don't get any leaks through the gasket. It's nice, smooth, and no problems. And then just to make sure there's no debris left over on it, give each one of them a little wipe down. And we're going to do the same thing to the bottom of our intake manifold. Okay, both of our surfaces are good. Now it's nice to take a little bit of air again. Go ahead. Pop a little bit. All right. Now we take our new gaskets. Okay. Well, okay, so silly as that is, damn parts store installed these the wrong way. All right. Now, if you see here, just because it's like that from the parts store doesn't mean it's always right. See, that gasket fits correctly. The tab on this side is going down, another tab right there. Now, if we put this same gasket, our tabs line up, the gasket's the right way, but this little tab is in upside down on both of them. So, we need to carefully remove this pin and flip it over. Be very careful when doing this though. Try to bend the gasket material as little as possible, if at all. Okay. Now, it sits down there. That sits in there just like it's supposed to. Again, we're going to have to do this to this one. Good job on this one, Field Pro. Worst part is, I wonder how many people that have done this job with this gasket and didn't never realize that. All right. Now all of our rags are out, our coils are plugged, all bolted down. Time to set the gasket back on very carefully, or the intake back on. All right, now don't forget, first thing, set this bolt in the slot. If you don't do that, you're not going to be able to get it in afterwards. Okay, I believe we are in our spot there. Take a couple of bolts. That one started. Alright, that one started. Let's come around here and make sure everything is out of the way so the intake can fall into place like it should. Okay. Short bolt up front, short bolt in back. Large bolt back in place there. All right, we're supposed to torque down to 17 foot-pounds, starting with the center 4 long bolts first in a circular pattern. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pull it down there a little snug. again in a circular torque pattern. As far as the back one goes, that's the fun one. I'm just gonna have to take a educated guess on this, the torque spec for this. I would suggest anybody watching this to get the correct torque specs, but I do not have a torque wrench that will fit into this spot. I don't believe. I'm going to attempt it, but I don't believe my torque wrench will fit in this spot. I've been doing this long enough, I could take a pretty good educated guess on what 17 foot-pounds of torque is. All right, so start with this one first. Let's double check. Alright, here. Let's see. I don't think it's gonna, but no, I'm not gonna be able to get it into there. So I'm going to do it by hand. Again, wouldn't be what I recommend to do, but that's my options. Alright, that's approximately 17 foot-pounds. Alright, now let's connect everything else back up together. Starting from the back forward, I'm going to go specifically back right and then back left. Is definitely, don't forget at this point, tighten that bolt back up. All right, let's get this other side. Back that out just a little bit. Okay, that is hooked up. Snap that back into place. Reconnect our throttle body. That was already broken. Alright, well, I have this intake out where it's easy to get to. We're going to go ahead and check the air filter while we're at it. Get this back over here out of the sun. It's a hot one today, guys. Thing definitely, it's a little dirty, not horrible. It ain't very good either though. So we're gonna blow this thing out while we have it. Definitely time to start thinking about getting another air filter. Now this one I'm going to put back in for now, but I am going to order another one. Go. Probably would have been a little easier actually if I'd have done it after it was already all hooked up. All right, now set this in place. Remember those lines were up above. bolts. All right, one last piece. All right, last piece and puzzles installed. Everything's clear of the motor. And it starts right up. Purring like a kitten. Now I'm not feeling any misses. Before I changed the plugs, I had an occasional miss. It would have missed by now. I only did it when it was in gear. It seems like just a simple tune-up fixed the problem. And that wraps up this video on how to change the spark plugs on a 2007 Cadillac CTS. All that's left to do is to put the top cover on. Might as well go ahead and do that. Then naturally clean up my mess. Voila. Well, till next time, I hope everybody has a good day, and I hope that this maybe helps somebody get through doing a spark plug change on one of these bad boys.